Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Officer, is there a way I can get this food to this individual?
You can leave it with us, and you can give us the name, and we can make an attempt for you. But we're not here to facilitate that, right? We're here we're here. You don't have a lawful reason to be here right now, right? And you've been asked to leave, and all we're doing is just ensuring that that you make your way.
Okay, there you go, John. You weren't able to physically watch that from your hotel room. I don't think it was facing that direction, but we did try. We tried fruitlessly. There was zero compassion, zero empathy for your plight.
There was a worm that had burrowed inside the top of the apple all the way down. I just don't have words. It took 7 hours and 32 minutes to get a replacement meal for one sandwich. And I talked to, I would say, probably 15 different agencies to get that.
Well, folks, back in 1980, there was a cheesy horror movie released called Motel Hell. It was fiction. It was pretty bad. But guess what? In 2021, there are plenty of Motel Hells abounding in Canada, thanks to those horrible quarantine facilities that the Justin Trudeau Liberals have inflicted upon travelers coming back to Canada via air. And nobody knows that better than my guest, whose name we shall not use, his real name that is, and who will continue to disguise himself because, heck, folks, we do live in an era of cancel culture. Talk about a real horror movie. Without further ado, John, how are you doing, my friend?
A little bit better now that I'm out and finally at home, but still on edge, as you can tell by the balaclava. Like you said, cancel culture, so I'm getting it from both sides, right? I don't want to have anything happen to me in my personal life, but also the detention I was in was illegal to begin with, so I can't even imagine what they would do if they saw me talking about it now. So,
yeah. Well, your identity doesn't really matter, but the story sure does. And folks, what happened with John? He came back to the U.S. from Qatar. He had taken the PCR test in Qatar. He had walked across the bridge from the U.S. to Canada, and typically these quarantine hotel rules apply to those flying into Canada. You might recall our report on John from last week. He was sent to the Hilton Hotel near the Toronto airport. And John, first things first, before we dissect what happened to you, how was it that you coming into Canada via land, how did you end up on one of those shuttles to bring you to that quarantine Hilton in the first place?
So what I'm being told at the border was the test has to be valid within 72 hours, which mine was. But from Dubai, it wasn't from Qatar. But still, so I guess they just didn't accept the country that it came from. And they're saying the reason for it is they expect somebody to get the test in the United States, remain in the United States, and then not contact anybody and cross over into Canada.
Yeah, and thank you for correcting me. It was Dubai, not Qatar. And you told me off camera that Dubai's medical care system there, it's first rate, isn't it?
I would say it's probably better than the United States, yes.
Okay then. So they wouldn't accept it on some kind of technicality. I don't know why a PCR test in Dubai is not accepted as one would be in the US. So on that technicality, they brought you to the Hilton, and you reached out to us because you have a severe seafood allergy. It was noted on your hotel room door at the Hilton, no seafood. And what did you get for lunch that day?
Sandwich, along with a Caesar salad that had anchovies in it.
So a tuna fish sandwich, which I think tuna swim in the sea. and a Caesar salad with anchovies in the dressing. And I mean, this is unbelievable because as we know, John, it is the Red Cross that is doing the food service catering there. I thought the Red Cross is supposed to keep people out of the hospital, not put them in the hospital.
And I thought the same thing, but it seems like, so what happens as soon as you get to that hotel, the Red Cross calls you and you need to register with their charity, and they want access to all your personal information. And I kept refusing to register with that. And I was told on the phone, I have hours of phone calls recorded, and I was told on the phone by the Red Cross that if I don't register, they can't help me any further. And the only thing they're going to provide is basic meals, and that's it, nothing else. So everything was just a nightmare after a nightmare.
Well, they were obviously incompetent in following the written directions not to give you seafood. But then it gets even worse. They go, yeah, we'll get around to getting you a replacement lunch. And I think when we chatted on the phone, about 7 hours had gone by and that replacement lunch hadn't shown up yet. So if you might remember the report, folks, we felt so bad for John that I put in an order for a nice big pepperoni pizza. We put together a care package of soft drinks, water, energy bars, other kinds of treats. We even put in some hand sanitizer because, if you can believe it, folks, the quarantine hotel had ran out of sanitizer. Unbelievable. And we tried to make this emergency food delivery to a starving John, and this is what we ran into. Yes, hi sir. We're just outside the door here. I've got a pizza for delivery and some other foodstuffs. Thank you. Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, for whom is it?
Oh, it's for an individual staying at the hotel.
So you'll have to go past security.
Pardon me?
You'll have to go to the security car parked at the front, so you'll have to go through them.
I'm Dave Menzies, Rebel News. I was just talking to the... What's that? I was told by the front desk to talk to you about a food delivery. Well, she's on the walkie-talkie. I don't know to whom. I'm just acquiescing to the request by the front desk. Oh, no, ma'am. I was talking to the... ma'am, there is a man in this hotel who is being starved.
So just want to let you know that you're trespassing on private property.
Oh, sorry. Who are you, sir?
I'm in charge of security for the facility.
Oh, okay. Can I see your security license, please?
No, you can't.
Okay, then, well...
You can call the police. They're going to get you to step off the property, please.
Oh, well, you have to show me your security license if you're a security guard. That's the law.
Sure. If you could just step off the property.
No, not until I see your license.
Sir, Mr. Menzies, I appreciate everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I told you that you can't be here. It's private property, so I'm giving you a lawful request to step off the property.
Okay, do you have any ID? You haven't shown me your security license.
Here's your question. You can give them a call. Okay.
They don't return our calls.
That's all that I'm able to give you.
Officer, is there a way I can get this food to this individual?
I mean, you can leave it with us, and you can give us the name, and we can make an attempt for you. But we're not here to facilitate that, right? We're here we're here. You don't have a lawful reason to be here right now, right? And you've been asked to leave, and all we're doing is just ensuring that that you make your way.
Okay, I thought it was a hotel open to the public, so But if you're telling me to leave, we will leave right now.
Yep.
I will phone.
Nowhere on the property, right? So.
Okay, our cars are parked on the property, so we have to.
You can go ahead and grab them and drive off, and that's not an issue at all.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time, sir.
Okay.
Okay, there you go, John. You weren't able to physically watch that from your hotel room. I don't think it was facing that direction, but we did try. We tried fruitlessly. There was zero compassion, zero empathy for your plight, and I think the insult to injury part is while you were waiting all those hours to get a meal, they said, here's an apple to tide you over. And what was in that apple?
So there was a worm that had burrowed inside the top of the apple all the way down. I mean, I just don't have words. It took 7 hours and 32 minutes to get a replacement meal for one sandwich. And I talked to, I would say, probably 15 different agencies to get that.
It is absolutely shocking. Can you tell us what it was like being in that hotel? Obviously, they don't care if you starve. They don't care if they give you food that is going to cause a severe allergic reaction. They don't care if they give you apples with insects in it. What else did you experience there, John?
So it's just they're fully garbed up and they have like big respirators on, and it's almost like carrying Ebola or something. I just don't understand it. So they treat you kind of like a prisoner. And the treatment there, I've talked to people who work in corrections, and it said, I had worse treatment than people who have murdered other humans, and I just can't understand that as a law-abiding Canadian, that I was treated that way. So you can't leave your room. You can't do anything. You're in a room that has had people that could possibly have COVID in it, and they give you no sanitizer. It's like living in a nightmare. And thankfully the room was really nice, but aside from that, there's not much to do in a small hotel room for 3-4 days.
And John, what was this charge to you for being in that hotel come prison encampment?
So if you travel through land, the hotel's actually covered. You don't have to pay for it. So I can't imagine if I had to pay for that, I would have lost my mind even more. But it is paid for. I'm not sure by who, they didn't say. But trying to get answers out of anybody in that hotel was just a nightmare.
Wow. So there's no transparency. That's another flaw to this system. We know from that 1-800 number, John, I haven't met anyone that has gone through on that number. We've tried several times. I met an individual within an hour. He phoned it 15 times, 15 disconnects before he ever got to a human. This whole thing smells and looks and seems like a fiasco to me. Coming back to your case, how many days were you there and how did you get out?
So I was there for 4 days. I was able to get my negative PCR result. But here's the kicker. So you send your negative PCR result to the Public Health Agency of Canada, and they kick back an automatic email, and they say within 24 to 48 hours, a quarantine officer will get in contact with you to let you know when you can leave your room. And at that point, I had it, and I was walking out the door. I didn't care what anybody said, and I was halfway out the door, and a nurse stopped me and asked me what I was doing and asked me if I was given my dismissal appointment, because you have to be walked out of the hotel. And I said no, and they called the quarantine officer that I had been trying to get in contact with for 4 days at my hotel. They called them downstairs, and within minutes, I was called and given the okay to leave.
Well, so potentially you could have been there for another 2 days because of that 24 to 48 hours. And John, ostensibly this is all about safety, but you told me off air that the fire alarm went off. That usually means everybody evacuates. What happened?
So the fire alarm went off at 4:25 in the morning. It was on the second floor, and we were all on the 9th, so we're on the very top floor. So as soon as that goes off, I was out the door. I'm not waiting for the fire to spread 7 floors below me. And when I got to the ground floor, I took the stairs and I took every precaution I could to abide by the rules. I get out and there's a security guard there from Paladin that told me I'm not allowed to go outside of the building during the active fire alarm. And I have the whole thing recorded. I've learned from other people on your show, Chris Guy and those types of people to record everything. And I did it. And they refused me to access to the outside air during the fire alarm.
John, that is horrific. In Oshawa, there was a very serious house fire that occurred. You don't play around with fires and fire alarms. And I'm going to look into the fact of whether or not that was an illegal act by that security guard, preventing somebody from exiting a building when there was an active fire alarm on. John, what a horrific story. You seem like a good guy to me. I really wish I could have got that pizza and all those treats that we bought for you, but nobody would let us pass those doors. They're completely fortified. One last question before we wrap. My personal view on this program, John, is that this is all political street theater. This is the Justin Trudeau Liberals saying, see how much we care about you Canadians, see how much we care about your health. Any Canadians coming back into the country, we're going to make absolutely certain they are not super spreaders. We're going to incarcerate them for the health of us all. When you could have easily have been sent home to quarantine there, which you're now doing. Am I on point here, or do you have a different take?
You're absolutely right. So I've got 3 points to that, actually. So the first is my quarantine plan that you have to submit to the government before you even come into Canada was safer for me and for all Canadians, even if I had it or I didn't, whatever. Where I had my personal vehicle dropped off at the border, full tank of gas. I could have driven straight home, quarantined at my house where I live by myself. Instead, I was subjected to a COVID bus, a COVID hotel, 4 days put out, and then, it's just been a nightmare since then. The other thing is, at the border, the quarantine officer, under the Quarantine Act, Section 32, says they don't have to detain you and put you into this quarantine facility if you have reasonable and means to not harm the public, which I did. So that was a big thing too. And the third point is, if you go and you get a test right now and you test positive, what happens to you? You get to go home and you have to quarantine in your house. So why was it different for me coming across the border with a PCR test that was still valid within the time frame? I wasn't afforded the opportunity to go to my house where it was safer for me to quarantine. I was put in this facility for 4 days.
Wow. Well said, John. And it, I guess, reemphasizes my point that there's really no tangible good reason from a health or sanitation, scientific, medical point of view to do this. This is all kabuki theater on the political stage, and it's absolutely shameless. John, thank you for joining me. I'm sure you're glad to be home sweet home. At least you don't have to worry about eating a tuna fish sandwich or getting an apple with a worm in it, right? Folks, have you been given one of those $880 Wuhan virus protocol tickets? Well, if so, please reach out to us at fightthefines.com. That's fightthefines.com. Tell us your story, and if we think it has merit, we will get you in touch with a top-notch criminal lawyer and crowdfund your legal fees.